You were not stuck. You were structured. And there was a difference between those two words that most people never stop to consider. Being stuck means the world has locked you in place, that forces outside of you are holding you down. But that is not what is happening. What is happening is quieter, more personal, and far more precise. You have built a structure, a set of invisible patterns and automatic defaults that run your life in the background without your permission. And the hardest part? Most of those patterns feel completely normal. Because they have been running so long, they stopped feeling like choices. They started feeling like personality. In 30 days, your life could look completely different. Same city, same house, same people, but a completely different trajectory. Not because you found motivation, not because circumstances changed, but because you stopped tolerating one thing. Just one. Most people won't do that. And that is why most people repeat the same year over and over, just wearing different dates. You don't hate your life. If you truly hated it, change would be immediate. Hatred is a fuel that demands action. But what you feel is more subtle than hatred. A low-grade dissatisfaction you have learned to carry. A background noise of disappointment you have slowly tuned out. A gap between who you are and who you know you could be, that grows wider every year. Not louder, wider. You wake up slightly tired. You reach for your phone before your thoughts form. You delay the difficult task. You tell yourself tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow arrives, and somehow it looks exactly like today. No dramatic crisis, no collapse, no rock bottom, just a slow accumulation of almost disciplined, almost focused, almost where you intended to be. And that is what makes this dangerous. Your life is comfortable enough to stay in, but not meaningful enough to grow inside. So you adjust. You lower expectations slightly. You normalize the exhaustion. You call it a phase. But phases without announcement become lifestyles, and lifestyles become identities. Eventually, the mind searches for an exit, a new job, a new city, a new environment where a better version of you is waiting. And when the opportunity comes, you take it. But something strange happens. The same patterns return. Different walls, same procrastination. Different income, same anxiety. Different relationship, same insecurity. That is not coincidence. That is structure. Because the problem was never where you were. It was what you carried everywhere you went. Your defaults, your automated responses, your relationship with discomfort. These do not disappear when your address changes. They unpack themselves quietly beside you, and slowly, without you noticing, you recreate the same life you tried to escape. You do not rise to a new environment. You export your internal structure into it. Most people misunderstand what starting over means. They think change must be dramatic, cinematic, visible. Quit everything, move somewhere new, reinvent overnight. But if your internal structure stays untouched, you will rebuild the same results anywhere. The restart is not external, it is structural. And structural change begins with one uncomfortable question. If your life repeated exactly as it is right now for the next 5 years, would you be proud? Or would regret grow quietly in the background? Don't answer too quickly. Sit with that. Because discomfort is not your enemy. Discomfort is information. And most people spend years finding ways to avoid that information. They stay in draining routines because leaving feels uncertain. They keep habits that numb them because stopping feels hard. They remain safe versions of themselves, even when that safety costs them everything that matters. Your life is not controlled by dozens of habits. It is controlled by one dominant reaction. When discomfort appears, what do? Do you escape it, delay it, reach for the distraction? Or do you stay and confront it? That one response, that single repeated pattern is quietly designing your future right now. If your default is escape, your world slowly shrinks. If your default is delay, opportunities decay. If your default is confrontation, identity expands. One pattern, that is all it takes. Most people never identify it. They stay busy enough to avoid seeing it clearly. Noise becomes protection from awareness. But the pattern keeps running, shaping every decision, every relationship, every outcome, until it stops feeling like a pattern. It starts feeling like personality. This is just who I am. But it is not who you are. It is who you were conditioned to be. And conditioning, unlike personality, can be interrupted. The moment you see it clearly, something appears. A pause. And inside that pause lives the only thing that has ever changed anyone's life. Choice. Imagine two people. Both want more discipline, more clarity, more meaning. Both feel the discomfort of growth. The first person feels that discomfort and escapes it. The second person feels that exact same discomfort and stays. Same intelligence, same resources, same starting point. 5 years later, their lives are unrecognizable from each other. Not because one was more talented, not because one was luckier, but because one changed their tolerance. Your life expands to the level of discomfort you are willing to remain inside. That is not a motivational phrase, that is a structural law. The people who build meaningful lives are not immune to fear. They are not strangers to doubt. They simply stopped treating discomfort as a signal to retreat. They began treating it as a signal to stay. And that single shift, quiet, invisible, internal, changes everything that follows. Here is the part that requires honesty. You already know what needs to change. You know the habit, the boundary you keep failing to hold, the excuse you return to. You do not lack clarity. You lack decision. And indecision is not neutral. Indecision is a decision to remain exactly where you are. Every delay is a vote for your current life. Days become months, months become years, and eventually, waiting stops feeling temporary. It starts feeling permanent. Changing the pattern means the old version of you begins to disappear, and that is terrifying. Not because you're afraid of failing, but because you're afraid of becoming unfamiliar to yourself. Who are you without the procrastination? Who are you without the comfortable limitations? You don't know yet, and not knowing feels like danger. But it is not danger, it is distance. Distance from the old pattern. Every meaningful version of you once felt strange. That feeling is not a warning. It is a compass pointing forward. The shift rarely feels dramatic. It feels quiet. One decision you actually keep. One standard you refuse to lower when pressure arrives. One moment where you choose the hard action over the easy escape. Then you repeat it, the next day, and the day after that, until discipline stops feeling forced and starts feeling like who you are. You are not far from a different life. You are one standard away, one boundary away, one disciplined response away from the beginning of something real. Remove the tolerance for the old reaction and momentum begins. Not motivational momentum that fades by Thursday, identity momentum, the kind that builds because the old option no longer feels available. Starting over does not begin with moving somewhere new. It begins with refusing. Refusing to delay what you already understand. Refusing to negotiate with the comfort that has been costing you growth. Refusing to repeat patterns you can now clearly see. Your life is not waiting for the right moment. It is not waiting for circumstances to align. It is waiting for a real decision. One you make and continue honoring tomorrow,
and the day after that, until the decision stops feeling like effort and becomes the structure of who you are. In 30 days, your life could look completely different. Same city, same house, same circumstances, different identity. You are not stuck, you are structured, and structure can always change. Choose the shift or choose repetition. But understand this, repetition is also a choice, and the structure has always been yours.